Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And this week, well, there's actually a question here. Is this anime yay or nay? Because there's a couple different things going on. We watched CyberSix, which is a relatively obscure show from the late 90s, early 2000s. Also part of a Saban production, but it's... So, I feel like I told you guys this last week. This was originally an Argentinian comic strip, which was then translated into a French and Italian magazine that was then produced into a cartoon by a combination production from a Canadian production company and TMS, the Japanese animation studio that actually animated it. And then was released to Argentina, France, Japan, and Canada simultaneously.
I would say it is anime.
I'd say this.
It was animated.
Yeah.
At least half anime.
Yeah.
It depends on how you define anime.
Canadian cartoons is.
I'm gonna say this. This feels like one of those strange, like, kind of hybrids that would eventually, like, create stuff like Totally Spies and a bunch of other things way down the line. That being said, I remembered this from when I was a kid, so it must have stuck. Did anyone else see this or know about it beforehand?
I did, and I do actually have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you know if they censored any of it when it was on American TV?
To my understanding, no. But it is apparently very watered down from the comic. Apparently in the comic there's a lot more, like, death, killing, and nudity, and other things like that. So, yeah,
okay.
They did, yeah.
So I rewatched this, and for the most part, it jogged my memory. But I remember telling you when you told us what we were watching that I'm like, oh, for some reason, I didn't think like that they were the same person. I thought that they were like siblings.
Well, as a kid,
still watching her change sequence, I still, like, I don't remember that at all.
I remember it. Like, I think, first off, we should, like, kind of go over what we're talking about here. The premise of this a little bit is that there is CyberSix is essentially a genetic super soldier created by this guy named Dr. von Richter, who made a whole bunch of them and then exterminated them because they were failures, I guess. She escaped, grew up, and is now living as... Well, she's biologically female, but her day-to-day persona is that of a male literature teacher at a high school. So, when we're talking about, like, oh, they're switching between CyberSix and Adrian Spiegelman, something like that. It was Adrian. Between Adrian and CyberSix, it's like, you know, I actually really like what they did there because they do feel like completely different people. Even though it's the same voice actress, it's basically the exact same body shape. The only difference is CyberSix wears tight clothes, Adrian wears baggy clothes. CyberSix's hair is forward and Adrian's is back. Oh, also Clark Kent glasses. So that's how you make everything. Sure. Yeah. But I do like, and I think like they did a really good job with that. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of with Batman the animated series when Kevin Conroy did the Bruce Wayne voice and the Batman voice. It was one of the first like interpretations of that where he actually like gave them different voices to differentiate them and make it plausible that, yeah, hearing Batman's voice, you wouldn't know he's Bruce Wayne anymore.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I was so sure they were brother and sister.
Nope, the brother is the Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's episode 2. Like, this goes to some weird places. But I think in a good way. Like, okay, the second episode sees a super intelligent Panther coming after CyberSix. Turns out it's her brother from when they were kids. He fell off a cliff, and Von Richter put his brain inside in the body of a panther. Why? Because he's a psycho. It's
terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question about Jose, who is the son of Von Richter. Is he a physical human, like biological human?
I was going to go into this because I actually did I did some wiki dives and stuff. So they don't. Here he's called his son, and they don't go into anything deeper than that, but there's a much larger story about that in the comics, I think, from what I've seen. I actually really want to read the comics, but I don't think there's ever been an official English release of it.
That's too bad.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to start looking on some fan sites, maybe. There might be someone who's translated this. But more or less, this is a Monster of the Week show where CyberSix goes and fights whatever creation or scheme Von Richter and Jose are coming up to this day of the week. And also there is a romance between CyberSix / Adrian and their work friend Lucas, who is very into CyberSix and is also good friends with Adrian, but doesn't realize that the two are the same person.
No, I think he's into Adrian too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also 1999, so I don't think they were ready for that on kids shows just yet, despite the fact that we have I guess back then it was considered cross-dressing, but yeah. I could see if they were to do a modern adaptation of this, which I kind of be into, I could see them maybe making CyberSix gender fluid or some sort of iteration of that.
Listen, Lucas has every single meal and spends all of his time with Adrian.
I know. He's his
own.
What
What was that you said when he saw CyberSix for the first time?
You can't catch me, straight thoughts.
Yes, we can. What if you don't have to choose? You know what? He's in a great position. He's kind of like what's his face? Shang from Mulan, where it's oh my god, I've suddenly had these new feelings for something that's but you're also this other thing. Well, I can have it both ways. Which I was just gonna throw this out there. If anyone wanted to do a cosplay of CyberSix, this is the perfect get you someone who can do both kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's twink lit teacher by day, dominatrix superhero by night.
All right.
It's
Goals.
And this is a kid's show.
I'm not sure if that's relationship goals or self-image goals, but it's goals.
My thoughts are if you're looking at that
envy.
if you want to be Lucas, then that's relationship goals. If you want to be CyberSix / Adrian, then that's just gender goals, I guess. I don't know. It's something. That's all I'm saying.
It's that question of do I want to be them or do I want to date them?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Why not both?
Today I want to be
CyberSix
Adrian.
dating Adrian.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a plot point at one point. They think.
What?
Oh yeah. Wait,
yeah.
I don't know. How many did you guys watch? I'm going to be honest with you. I binged the whole thing yesterday.
Almost all of it.
Yeah, you watched up to 10, I think.
Okay, so you saw there's the high school girl who has a crush on Adrian, and so she finds out where he lives and goes over and sees Adrian, but as CyberSix, in his apartment. She's like, oh my god, well, what am I supposed to do now? I'm well, I don't know. Try for a 3-way, I guess. But
she's in high school.
And then Lucas, instead of being upset that this teenager stalked his friend home and was trying to get with him, is yeah, you betrayed me.
I mean, at the same time, they have a conversation about it earlier where Adrian's what am I supposed to do? She's being disruptive in class and all that. He's it's a schoolgirl crush. She'll get over it in a month. Well, what do I do till then? Run. I don't know. But at that point, and it's not really easy to tell how long things have been going on since CyberSix and Adrian showed up, but he keeps bringing up oh, I met this woman, CyberSix, and she's this and blah blah blah. I feel like Adrian should be able to tell you, okay, he's clearly in love with her.
I know,
and then he finds out, oh, you're seeing this person that I've been talking to you about for weeks, and you didn't say nothing to me. Thought we were friends, dude.
I feel my initial reaction, if this situation presented itself, where a child came up to me and told me my crush was dating my friend, I would be but why do you as a child know that? Okay,
yes, he should have been a better teacher there, but I'm just saying, I think his reaction was kind of warranted. I do like the story that they have going on there with, this double life thing. I think it's actually done really well here, and I'm saying that as someone who's seen a bunch of other shows where they try to do this. A lot of other superhero shows where they try to do like, oh, Lois is into Superman, not Clark, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like here it's actually done really well. Like, it might be more interesting than some of the actual Monster of the Week plots that they have.
Because it feels like he's equally as into Adrian.
Yeah. And it's like... But then you are going to have that moment of like, hey, I've been lying to you since I met you. This could have been a lot easier. But, yep, they didn't.
It's very, miraculous Ladybug.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one of
That's
them.
what I was thinking.
I might have to watch that at some point.
It's cute.
I'm trying to think here. So this was 13 episodes. Came out in, I think, 99. So this is like riding right off of... we were talking about Fox Kids last week with X-Men. So, and I was editing that video, and I was like looking at some of their lineups and stuff, and so it was like some of the things, and you can kind of see the things happening with this were probably a result of some other things that were going on with some of the other shows. Like they like first had like Batman and Animaniacs, which then eventually went to WB after Kids WB became a thing. But they got to keep X-Men, and they eventually had Spider-Man, which I think was in like 95, 96. We talked about that. And I found out about Spider-Man. Apparently there were a number of other censorship issues. Like, remember I told you guys for X-Men they couldn't say the word Nazi or anything like that?
Yeah.
Apparently in Spider-Man, they included certain restrictions, like Spider-Man is not allowed to punch people. And... no one's allowed to be on fire or thrown through glass. I'm assuming because they didn't want kids to like emulate that. Like, and there was other things like, if you notice in that show, there are no like real world guns. They're all laser guns that tase people essentially. And I think that's bleeded over into this a little bit because I think they might have lightened up a little bit for CyberSix, but CyberSix, I think in the entire series only throws 2 punches, despite the fact that they are in like 3 fights an episode. Their main move is just jump on people.
Jump and, like, twirl a bunch very dramatically with the cape.
Yeah, that's all legal. I think, like, later episodes, they got to throw in a punch or two, but, like, it's mostly kicks and I'm gonna Goomba stomp you.
Honestly, Data 7 does more damage.
Oh, yeah, because they're a fucking panther.
With the cougar noise.
Yeah. What was I going to say about this? Something about the... Oh, right. CyberSix is... Like, I actually like the character design. I think Envy gave me, like, 1 or 2 notes. Let me make sure. He was kind of saying, like, oh, this feels like a very 90s kind of thing that was kind of happening at the time. It also shares, like, some of the art styles that were popular at the time. Mostly the Dorito-shaped people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this was very popularized by like Bruce Timm's art style and like Batman the Animated Series and onward, but like yeah, every guy in this show does nothing but arms and chest day and skips leg day every single day of the week.
It felt very
But CyberSix doesn't, and that's why they're the most powerful.
Scooby-Doo character design wise.
Yeah, but even bulkier. CyberSix doesn't skip leg day, and that's why they're able to beat everybody. They're seriously the only person in the entire show who has hips. And I get why part of that is, but I'm going to say that that's where their power comes from. So, I do eventually want to talk about like a whole bunch of other stuff around the show, not necessarily the show, but I do want to talk about the show for now. So, what else do you guys want to talk about the show itself?
I thought it looked vaguely familiar. I asked my dad if it rang a bell, and he said no, so I'm thinking maybe I just got her confused with Carmen Sandiego.
She does have, like, goth Carmen Sandiego vibes with the hat and everything else.
They have the same outfit, just hers is black.
Well, Carmen Sandiego had, like, a coat.
Yeah, it's like a trench
cape.
coat.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
This is vampire Carmen Sandiego.
Also,
it's just a different skin, you know?
Yeah, I was actually thinking this is like, because like the way she kind of like fights and acts throughout the show, I'm like, this is like if Batman and Catwoman had a kid that wasn't Huntress in a different universe, and like people actually like them. I don't know if people like Huntress or not. She's a little much sometimes. I'm not gonna get into that, but Yeah. What was your guys' favorite monster?
Eyeball.
The eyeball one was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. There was lasers and stealing souls in that one.
Yeah. I also kind of like the mud puddle and how Jose just kept being like,
Tara.
my little mud bath.
Yeah.
My little mud puddle.
He just wanted to be loved.
Yeah, like, I feel like you always have that tragic story. Like, I actually think, like, Batman the Animated Series had, like, the episode where the 2 episodes they introduced Clayface in had a lot of, like, similar things to that, too. And I like how they animated it, too. I think, like, in the 90s, they figured out how to animate semi-liquid creatures, and they were just like, yeah, let's do this.
They're like, you like slime? We got slime.
You want slime with tentacles? We got that, too. You want slime with tentacles and a lady in tight leather? Pervert.
There is one thing, and, you know, it's definitely a product of its time.
Mm-hmm.
The Japanese character's portrayal is a little racist.
Yeah, the buck teeth thing. A little bit.
Yeah.
What I think part of that is, and I don't remember exactly when this was, like, published originally. I'm assuming, like, I've looked at the art of the comics and the art from the show. It's very similar. Like, they're very close.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm very interested, since it was animated in Japan, like, if they don't
clearly
understand
someone was okay with
like
it.
the context of it is in the Western world.
See, that's kind of where I was thinking, because again, this is like from an Argentinian comic. I don't know what, social things and race relations are in Argentina. I'm assuming they're not the exact same as they are here, where maybe this character would be kind of looking like a little bit on the racist caricature side. Maybe down there they're like, oh, we have no idea what that is. And then Japan animates it like, oh, we don't have that stereotype over here, so we don't care. And then like maybe it's just us that we feel it's weird because we've seen that sort of caricature before. That being said, even though his design is very character-like, he's actually a pretty decent character.
Yeah, he's my favorite character.
Yeah, he was pretty cool, and like, I think he's the only person to figure out who CyberSix is.
Like, so easily, too. He's just like,
yeah.
Your voice sounds suspiciously like this guy.
Yeah.
Which is really funny, because I swear to God, they only have CyberSix's voice actress for females.
No. They were also near in Death Note. The little white-haired kid everyone hates.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, Werewolf Lady, that was CyberSix's voice actress.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's cool. Like they have some range. It's pretty good.
They had one voice actress, and that was it.
They had to have more than that. I know I guess you guys didn't get to the later episodes with the invisible assassin lady. She was a different person. I'm pretty sure Lori's a different person. Like, there's not a very large female cast here, and a lot of it is just extras, which, yeah, sure, just get the...
I mean, there's not a very large cast here in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly our 2 main leads, a panther, a street kid, a Hitler Youth, and his dad.
Honestly, fuck Julian.
He wasn't great, no.
And also, they didn't help him. She's like, I'll help you, and then left his ass out on the streets.
Yeah. I don't really know what they were gonna do about that. Like, because I thought maybe they were gonna give him a home or something, but then it's like, oh, but then you're gonna know my secret identity. Well, who else do you talk to? Is it that big of a deal? I mean, part of it comes back to, like, this whole double life thing where you're kind of like, it is interesting with Lucas and everything, but at the same time, wouldn't things be easier if he just knew? He's already involved in every other scheme you're going into. So...
He has no friends. He can't tell anybody.
Julian getting captured, like, every other episode and then making it a big deal that she has to go save him wouldn't happen if she just got him off the street.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Like, I get why Data 7 doesn't live with her. He's a panther. and having a panther walk around in the middle of a city might raise a few eyebrows.
No
Can you
pets.
imagine the landlord inspection? Oh no, I don't have a cat. It's a panther.
I have a big cat. I said no pets, and then the panther pins down the landlord. Well, he does seem very polite.
He's not my pet. He's my brother. Don't be fucking rude.
We're gonna need some drinks, and you have to explain that one to me, buddy. I like this intro episode, though. I like the. I think they did a really good job, especially in that episode with visual storytelling, because the panther can't speak, obviously.
Yes.
So, and they just have these flashbacks and this imagery of the flowers and the falling off the cliff and the person involved in it and all this sort of stuff. And you're kind of like, okay, did CyberSix kill you? What's going on? And it's like, no, it was an accident. But and it was really good too. I don't want to keep calling this a kid's show because it really doesn't feel like it is one. But
I don't know if I would have been able to make the leap in logic CyberSix did when Data 7 scratched the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
But good for her.
I mean, they had to move it along a little. Yeah. I mean, she's a super soldier. She should have some super smarts. So, I don't know.
She can smell him.
Why?
And what else should we talk about?
Did you actually... You said you researched some things on Jose?
I did. I researched a couple of things about the series and some stuff like that. This only had one season. I think part of it... I don't think this was a rating smash like X-Men was. But beyond that, apparently after or during the season's production, there was a conflict between the North American production company and the Japanese production company, and apparently at the end of it, they just didn't want to work together, and that's basically why the show got canceled. Which is unfortunate, because I actually think this show could have gotten better with a second season, had they kept maybe going a little bit. This first season does, I think, a lot to establish the characters and who they are, and I kind of wanted them to continue on, and I don't know if if they would have continue with some storylines or something for the comics, or what they would have done with whatever the Monster of the Week things would have been moving forward. But I think you maybe could have expanded, especially with the villains, because they're kind of the weak point of the show. The monsters are interesting, but Jose's kind of just comic relief for the most part. He's not particularly threatening, and Von Richter really doesn't get anything in this show. He gets a couple cameos on a TV saying how much of his son is a disappointment. And then he's right there at the end of the series as the big bad. But again, he really doesn't do anything. And I feel like if you have an evil, mad scientist making all these monsters and experiments on people, you should be a bigger part of this show. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I feel like they were planning on continuing for a while.
I will say this, because I don't know if you guys are going to watch the last couple episodes or not, because I know you guys watch, 10 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 13 episodes, so it does end on a cliffhanger.
I know.
Of sorts.
I do remember.
Kind of thing. Okay. So, yeah, it does feel like they were setting up for that, at least from a writing standpoint, but I guess production just... No one was happy at the end of it, so they were like, yeah, we're going to call this quits. That's a shame. Again, I think this could be good for a modern adaptation somewhere along the line.
Or even if they do what they're doing with X-Men, where it's not necessarily an adaptation, but they just continue it.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be cool. Or even if you wanted to make a live action movie or series or something, I think now would be a perfect time to have just a queer or gender fluid superhero main character for a series. Why not?
Yeah, not have them called Snowflake or whatever.
You know what? We don't talk about Snowflake in Safe Space.
Safe Space.
Yes, I remember what both of them were. Oh boy.
I mean, that was a really fucking out there universe, right? That wasn't canonized one,
wasn't that
was
just
it?
DC's main universe?
It was just DC. They were just trying something new.
Ugh.
And it didn't work.
No. Like, I think I mentioned the censorship earlier, that, like, I think they had a little bit of bleed over from X-Men, because X-Men wasn't allowed to say Nazi and whatnot, and I think this show got as close as they could without saying the word Nazi when they were making Jose and Von Richter straight up Nazis.
Yeah.
So, and in the comics, big surprise, they're Nazi war criminals.
Of course.
Yeah. So.
Even Jose?
Should we get into that?
I feel like, yes, you need to get into that.
Okay, so. And I don't.
Because
again,
he
I
looks
haven't
like
read.
he's like 5.
Yeah, yes, he does. He's somewhere in. He's like Julian's age, probably like 8, 10, somewhere in that general area. So, and I have not read the comics, but I've seen like the wikis and stuff. Von Richter is a Nazi war criminal, and he is either modeled after or is Joseph Mengele, the angel of death from the concentration camps who did human experimentations on people, who actually did escape to Argentina and lived until 1979.
Oh,
the
that's
bastard.
disturbing.
Yeah, no, they kept trying to get him. He, like, went from Argentina to Paraguay to Brazil, and, like, the governments just wouldn't extradite him. And, like, West Germany and Israel and a whole bunch of Nazi hunters kept trying to, like capture him. And he just evaded capture for, like, 30 years until he had a stroke while he was swimming and drowned. And then it wasn't until 1985 they were able to exhume his body, because he was buried under a false name, that they were able to confirm, yeah, he's dead. Okay, that is him.
Woof.
What a fucking piece of shit. But, like, goddamn, this whole comic has some historical precedence to it.
It was a roller coaster. My goodness.
Yeah, sorry for the dark turn down human history lesson there.
It's like the McAfee guy.
Was he still doing experiments after he escaped?
There's a lot of people who say yes. There is not a ton of, like,
oh yeah, I
hard evidence.
Like,
he was in hiding. Yeah, he was in hiding. So it's like there's rumors, speculation, but I don't know that anything's ever been, like, fully proven. We'd imagine so. There's, like, one place in particular in Brazil that, okay, so Mengele had a thing about twins. He wanted to figure out how to make more of them, essentially to have a higher birth rate in Germany for a larger army. There is a region in Brazil, I forget the name of it, that the rate in which twins are born is a little over 10%. Worldwide, it's about 1%. So 1 out of every 100 people or so, or births, are like twins. But there, it's 1 in 10. Yes, because it's...
So...
He was in the area at the time that some of these, like... Some of the documentation about the twin rates were coming in. There's some people who speculate, yes, he was experimenting on the women there. There's other people who are like, there's no documentation of that. It might just be like there was a recessive gene that became more dominant because it was in an isolated population. Nothing can be confirmed, but plenty of people are like, yeah, Joseph Mengele kept experimenting on people in South America. So that's where this comic is, in this fictionalized reality horror story. I don't know.
Yikes.
It's a very dark and scary setup. But yeah, so Von Richter is Mengele. And first off, this is not set after World War II. This is set like somewhere in the 80s or the 90s. And Von Richter is still so young because I think they say something along the lines of regeneration on like the wikis and stuff, but I'm pretty sure he made a clone of himself and put his mind in the body of the younger clone. That is exactly what Jose is for.
Oh, that's what
because he is also a clone of Von Richter. that he is raising as his son. And I'm pretty sure as soon as he comes to physical maturity, guess Daddy's got a new body to play with. That came out wrong. Daddy has a new body to control. Daddy has a new body to live in. Yeah. Still terrible.
Better. Just 1 second. You said this does not take place after World War II.
Well, it has...
Okay. And I was sitting, and then you were like, it took place in like the 90s. I'm like, wait.
Not directly after World War II. It's like...
It was actually the 1800s.
No, you can't take it back.
Listen, it's been a long week,
and that
confused me so hard for a minute.
I get it. I'm sorry. That's my fault. This is not directly post-World War II. This is decades later. Okay. And yeah, so CyberSix is also one of those experiments that he was working on in South America. They were one of 5,000 children that they were essentially raising to be super soldiers to try to take over the world again, but apparently there was something in the genetics or whatever that made them rebellious, and he's like, okay, clean slate, kill them all. And that's actually where the, I got no other way to call them, the Arnold Schwarzenegger zombies show up. And he made them because they don't think for them. They're called fixed ideas. They can't really think for themselves that much. They can only really follow orders. And he used them to exterminate all the children. The only one that escaped.
Put Data 7 into the Panther.
Yeah, I think that was in the middle of that. That was before the extermination thing, because CyberSix is the only one who escaped. And then the Data series was experimentation on animals. I'll put a human brain in an animal. That's an interesting experiment. Hey, it worked. Cool. So, yeah. Like, I've looked up some of these other experiments that they do. This comic goes to some really crazy places. Yeah. So that's Von Richter and Jose. Ain't that fucky? Fine. Yeah, so it's pretty dark.
Was there a reason she was dressed up like a boy when she was young?
Right. Well, I mean, I think it was just unisex clothing kind of thing. It's just like a t-shirt and shorts. Everyone...
Before you hit puberty, your gender is child.
Yeah, pretty much. You're 5.
It's a child.
I can tell you're a kid because you're wearing a striped shirt.
Yeah. But in regard to how they became Adrian, if I'm remembering correctly, and for some reason I thought this was in the show, but I don't think it was. And I can kind of remember. I kind of feel like why they didn't do it is when CyberSix escaped, they were kind of just walking along this road somewhere and found it was a car accident, a car crash, and there was a family that had died. The mom, dad, and the kid who was about the same age. It's like one of those like moments of convenience where it's like, hey, this kid who's about the same age as me and kind of looks enough like me that I could get away with it, also died.
That's messed up.
Yeah. I'm going to steal his identity.
Completely fictitious.
Yeah, there's a reason they didn't do it in the show, I think. But yeah, CyberSix takes Adrian's identity and then I guess lives off like the insurance money or whatever from the parents and that, and grows up, goes to school, apparently writes a thesis on the Canterbury Tales. That was actually in the show, and then gets a job right before they run into the Nazis again and have to go about stopping the Nazis from doing evil things.
God damn, Nazis ruin everything.
They do, don't they?
Really, in the show, go into how she was already fighting the fixed ideas.
Yeah.
I feel like it started based on Lucas's introduction to them.
Yes and no. Our story starts there, but I think... See, I don't know, because, again, I feel this is probably explained better in the comics, but, if you saw in the first episode, she drinks the vial that came out of the fixed idea. That's a substance called sustenance, and it's the stuff that keeps all of the experiments stable, essentially. She doesn't have access to that anymore because she's not with the Nazis, which is good. But, her body is not, a fully stable kind of... I don't know, it's very hard to describe. It's all pseudoscience, mumbo-jumbo kind of thing, but if she doesn't have the sustenance... Yeah. If she doesn't take the sustenance, maybe she'll she'll melt or something. I don't know. Something like that.
I want to know how she made it to adulthood.
I'm guessing I mean, to some degree, if you're going to escape a facility, you're probably going to want to take the drugs that they're giving you to keep you alive, or at least a supply of it. But part of it also might be depending on how much, she uses her power, like her super strength, her agility, all that sort of stuff. It might cause her to run through, like, the sustenance that's in her body faster. I'm speculating here. I don't know. But it's
they really
like,
didn't mention it at all after the first episode.
They didn't, and I feel like that's kind of a problem, because they do bring it up at the very end, and it's like, okay, how long does sustenance last you? Because, like, you really went a whole season here not talking about it. And then it's suddenly a plot point again at the end. But one thing they changed about it, which was also a thing in Spider-Man, apparently they weren't allowed to have people bite each other. So that's why... Did you guys see the Spider-Man show?
No.
So Morbius is in it. That's a meme. But he's a vampire, but he's not allowed to bite people. So he has little buttholes on his hands that allow him to suck the plasma out of you if he grabs you. Because that's not going to be nightmare fuel for children.
That's so much worse.
Yes, it is. He's got. I shouldn't call them buttholes. They're like octopus suction cups. Still terrible.
I feel like society has an obsession with like butthole hands now.
Yeah. They do.
So many characters have it.
Anyway, I think along those lines, they had the whole the fixed ideas, the fixed thoughts, or whatever. They're gonna turn into vials, which is a little bit weird, and you'll drink the vial.
Oh, was she just supposed to eat them?
She's essentially a vampire sucking the sustenance out of their bodies. Like, the sustenance is their blood, essentially. The fixed ideas, I think. So it literally would be her, like, ripping open their neck and drinking them. Which might be a little much for a kid's show.
That's way more fun.
I'm starting to really wonder who thought it was a great idea to turn this comic into a kid's show. I'm happy they did it, but I really want to know where their head was at.
Wait, then how does that tie into her going back to Lucas? If it
He had the vial.
Yeah, but if it's not a vial in the comic, she just...
I think it's one of those things they just keep running into each other, and eventually she just accepts it.
Gotcha.
I mean, come on. He's kind of cute.
He's kind of dumb.
He's a bit of a himbo.
He's... Reminds me a lot of Gumshoe.
What did you say about in Boyfriend Dungeon? NBs love himbos.
NBs love himbos.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's about all. Yeah. I genuinely want to read this comic now because, like, this show, rewatching it again, has re-sparked my interest in it. I'm like, I need to go look for, like, a fan translation or something. I'm sure someone has it somewhere. Oh, the other thing we should talk about, the lawsuit and controversy about Dark Angel.
Yeah.
Which I did watch for this. Because I needed to know. For those of you who don't know, Dark Angel is an early 2000s TV show from James Cameron starring Jessica Alba and, what's his name? Something Weatherly? The guy, DiNozzo from NCIS, who is a super soldier genetically engineered by an evil government organization who escapes after they're, and is addicted to a drug that keeps them stable and now has to fight against the people who created her. Does that sound familiar to anybody? It certainly did to the writers of CyberSix, because they sued his ass.
Did they win?
Isn't it addiction?
They had to drop the lawsuit because they ran out of money.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like you have James Cameron in the 2000s, post-Titanic.
I guess.
And with the backing of a TV network. Versus two, like, Argentinian writers for comics who I don't know if they had a lot of success outside of CyberSix. I don't know how much money they would have had.
Yeah.
And that's a real shame.
That's a bummer.
Like, watching... So I watched Dark Angel, at least the first episode. And I watched all of CyberSix. Now, granted, I haven't read it, but I feel like it's a decent enough comparison. I think they could have taken them to court. I don't know what the ruling would have been, though. Because, yes, there are some glaring similarities, but there's also a number of differences where I'm kind of like, depending on who's ruling on this and, like, the jury or, like, whatever sort of, like, methods they're going by, they might not have ruled in their favor. I'm not sure. Because, like, intellectual property and stuff like that, it's really difficult sometimes to figure out based on a bunch of different things. I think, like, since then there have been other rulings that might have helped them a little bit more. But, like, the main thing that I'm like, thinking that they could have used in this sort of case would have been, like, back in the 80s, there was a bunch of video games coming out. And along with that, there was a whole bunch of people selling essentially copies of those video games that were reskinned or had, like, just a little bit different name changes, stuff like that, to try to make it past copyright infringement type stuff. And some people were taken to court over it. And I think, like, there were some fighting games especially that this happened in, because a lot of the fighting games tended to have, like, a number of the same kind of, like, programming and controls kind of thing. But if I literally take this character and just turn them from, like, a red costume to a blue costume, that's a totally new character. I mean, Mortal Kombat did that for years with, like, the Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, Smoke, you know, what have you, all those ninjas. But other people would do it with the, like, those properties and then, like, try to sell it as their own thing. I think there were some court rulings that said, because it is aesthetically different, even if it's, like, the same kind of fighting game, because it's aesthetically different, it's its own thing, that's not infringement. But then other more recent ones have started to be like, well, if the idea of this game is the thing being copied, and it's a little more ephemeral, it's a little more difficult to, like, figure out, and it kind of came down to game mechanics and stuff like that. I know I'm talking games, and I feel like I'm getting lost in the weeds a little bit here, but I think Dark Angel might have had enough aesthetic and plot-based differences that it might not have gone the way of the authors. But again, I don't know. I kind of wish they had the money to find out whether this thing would have been a thing, because it does have some glaring similarities.
Yeah.
How bored did everybody get during my out there explanation there?
No, copyright law is fascinating and usually very unfair.
Oh yeah.
It does
there's
not.
a reason these guys didn't get to go that far. They did not have the money James Cameron had.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe someday there'll be a CyberSix adaptation somewhere that'll actually get them some more money coming in and they can try up again. There was actually, I think, in Argentina, there was actually a pilot that was shot for a live action of this series.
Ooh.
Oh.
I kind of want to find that.
Yeah.
I might be out of stuff to talk about. Anyone else? I think I've expunged all the knowledge I could.
I feel like that covers it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm like, yeah, I'll probably go back and watch this, I don't, because,
I hear you.
like, out of sight, out of mind. I don't have to watch it for the podcast anymore, so I just forget about it. But this one,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm enjoying this a lot, so I'm just going to keep watching it.
Well, part of as much as I want more episodes, part of it is it's a short series and it's on YouTube. It's so easy to find.
Yeah.
Like, I think the whole series is maybe 4.5 hours to watch. So, yeah, if that endorses anyone to, like, go out and watch it now, please do. I give this a yay. I mean, it's got one or two problems, and I kind of wish it could go a little bit further than what it did, but this is a yay for me. I think Envy was also a yay in his text to me. Yes, he is a yay.
Yeah, I would say yay.
Yeah, I'm a pretty hard yay. I really enjoyed this one.
Yes, it's a yay.
Yay. Yays all around. I have to assume that other people would probably be a yay if they weren't feeling a little under the weather and couldn't be here. So what have we covered with Saban? We covered an anime adaptation, we covered an American cartoon, and we covered whatever amalgamation of international animation stuff this was. So why don't for the rest of the month we get to what Saban's really known for? Live action imports of Japanese TV shows that they dubbed over and created their own plot lines for. I'm thinking we start with you know exactly what I'm thinking of. VR Troopers.
That
See you
was
next week.
not what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, now you have, and now you're gonna watch it. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoy this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!